to share my screen too. Just this thing with like, this goes along with symbols and also goes along with Gematria, which is Hebrew numerology. And those things of the class today is like not all technically Gematria, but it's in a similar fashion where if you count a certain number of things, it has some sort of significance with that number, which we'll show today. But Manly P. Hall, who is the expert, about all this esoteric stuff, he says, symbolism is the language of the mysteries. By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language. So in Kabbalah, they also say that numbers aren't really like created, they were discovered. And Kabbalah, it actually means, or it means to receive, but what it is, it's essentially the science of spirituality, and it's the spirituality of numbers. And so, according to Kabbalah, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet are just vibrations that have a numerical value to it and a certain frequency. And it was these 22 frequencies that created our universe. All right, now I'm going to take to the notes. It'll show you Gematria, the reoccurring numbers that keep showing up in the tarot. And they are like 45, 40, 15, 37, 20, 32, 33, 13, 12, 72, 24. These are the ones that you'll see reoccur a lot. And they really have the significance. And there's also a thing about the secret of the wands, suit of wands cards, is that, so wands are like trees, right? And trees are connected to agriculture. And the god of agriculture is Saturn. And Saturn is the lord of time. So by counting the branches on the trees, it gives us a sense of timing aspect that's portrayed inside the illustrations on the card. And we'll go over some examples of that because it's hard to explain really, but it's really cool to see when you really start to count these fine little details. The secrets or God is in the details. Another thing too about the wands is they all show advice or reveal advice. Because the ancient Hebrew word for advice is etz, like E-T-Z, and the word for trees is etz, and then the word for advice is etzah, which is very similar. So it shows you how the trees give advice. Just like every single wands card has good, down-to-earth, practical advice. In the last class, we talked about objects, how they connect to a specific sephira when you count those objects. So that counting of things could also go with this number lesson in Gematria and significant lessons of counting things. Gematria unveils deeper secrets and gives deeper meanings to the card's interpretations. So what is Kabbalah? Kabbalah means to receive. And then what do we receive? We receive the light of God. When we tap into the light and to the spirit or to the spiritual, are the unseen energies that surround us, but are not visible to us. We can feel the spirit and are keen to certain things with our intuitive powers. The Kabbalah has a numerical value of 137, which is the same as the fine structure constant, which is the binding force that governs all light, sound, and matter in existence. It's similar to that force in the Star Wars movies. It's that fine structure constant is very nearly equal to 1/137. And it is the coupling constant or measure of strength of the electromagnetic force that governs how electrically charged elementary particles, like an electron or a muon, and light photons interact. A fundamental and dimensionless physical constant. The tarot is a tool for us to tap into this light energy. God energy force, which is all around us all the time. Kind of like that concept of how do you explain water to a fish? It's this concept is our reality. And so these numbers and knowing these geometric connections help us tap into the matrix or into this like higher reality of what's really going on in the unseen. That all being said, it's shows you the power of numbers. And then, like, everything has geometry. And geometry is numbers and angles. And those angles can be looked upon as angels. Yeah. I'm going to say, what number is good to start at right now? Maybe the number 33. The number 33, I don't know if you know about Freemasons, but in Freemasons, the number 33 is about the highest level degree of consciousness, where you feel at one with everything. It was because when Jesus Christ died on the cross, he was 33 years old. And then that's the day he died. And then he returned to the Father and they became one. So he's like one with God at 1 minute, 33. I'll go into it just a little bit deeper too in just a second. All right, so speaking of the 33, in the Kabbalah tree of life, there's 32 connecting points. There's 10 spheres and 22 branches, so 32. But once you consider that the seed level is the unseen dot, which means knowledge. So it's like the data and also the pure potential of that tree. And so it's still there. It's just you don't see it. And so that's kind of like the 11th sphere, which would be like 33 connecting spots. And so it's that that seed that grows up from the darkness into the light and then produces its own fruit, and that fruit produces its own seeds, and it starts over again. So the whole point of like coming full circle, that seed finally gets to the top of the tree and becomes kind of like that 33rd degree level. And that becomes like a full circle where the tree feels at one, and it feels at one with everything, enlightenment. And you'll see the 33 a lot with the symbols inside the cards connecting to Jesus's story, where Jesus was 33 years old when he died on the cross and returned back to heaven and was at one with the Father. Another card that's huge is the number 40. 40 is the numerical value for the Hebrew word mem, and also the letter mem, which means water. And it's always about the healing magic essence of water, and like taking a baptism in the water and fully immerse yourself. And it's always a time needed that's pretty relevant on the person and on the situation, but a time that's needed for spiritual transformation. Just like when the earth flooded for 40 days and 40 nights, the earth was taking a baptism and cleansing itself of all the evil. And just like the Jewish people who escaped Egypt, and then they were inside the desert for 40 years before they can go to the promised land. And they needed that time to grow up and spiritually evolve and become more well-rounded and grow into their own before they could enter the Holy Land. Had to cleanse themselves as they transitioned from one phase or chapter in their life into the next. And they really had to grow up and overcome a lot of selfishness, and a lot of like victimhood, that kind of thing, and a little bit entitlement as well. 40 is also, you'll see it on women's dresses, and it could, like in the maiden inside the 9 of Pentacles, has 40 roses, or the Empress, she has 40 pomegranates on her dress. And the 40 with those women, it connects to the 40 weeks of the gestational period, which is how long it takes for the fetus to grow inside the womb before it could be fully developed into a baby before birth. So the Empress is pregnant and she's just about to give birth. She's about to pop. But then you have the Maiden and the Nine of Pentacles, and it shows that she's now ready to have a baby. And so that's whenever the suitor comes and asks her to date, which will lead to marriage, which will lead to her being a mother of his children. But you can see that 40 to be in the time being ready. And it's always like a different aspect and relevant. So you can see the different polarities of it's about to pop, or she's just about, now she's ready to have a baby. And 40, it also connects to the third sphere on the tree, Bina, which means understanding. And it's understanding through contemplation. So when someone reaches a level of 40 in the spiritual awareness, now they've like grabbed and obtained a higher level of understanding of all things. And they start to like really become more of adulthood. And now they can start to produce and become productive, and proactive, and take action and put a dent in the world and, help society and all that. So 40 is also a higher level of understanding as well. And kind of seeing the big picture, Well, let me show you some examples of the 40 in cards. Let me see what I got in front of me. Oh yeah, this. So this is the Chariot card. And above his head on the canopy is 40 of the stars of David, or stars of Saturn above him. So that just shows that he's been studying like godly things. And also there's 40 of them. So he's just a very good understanding and contemplation, and just he can explain his wisdom very well. So he's reached a higher level of that. And so now he's become a sort of like an expert in his field, and he has to venture outside and go be like a missionary to go connect with other like-minded people that share in the same understandings as him. Like he does all this occult and not religious things. So it's like astrology, alchemy, numerology, Kabbalah, all that. So he has a deep understanding of that thing and all that stuff. Let me see what else. There's also the Hangman card. The Hangman, its Hebrew letter assigned to it is Mem, which has a numerical value of 40. So it shows how this guy is just, he's stood up for his truth, and now he's being punished a little bit by his peers. And he realizes that it's going to take some time for them to kind of heal, or just kind of understand his point of view, and for time to heal all things. And so it's that level of 40 of understanding who's realized that, and also that 40 where it's going to take time to heal and evolve and become well-rounded, and kind of like, accept things for how they are, surrender to the flow of it, and then just allow time to heal his certain situation. Here's the Empress. She has 40 of the pomegranates on her dress. So she's pregnant, but she's not wanting to show. She has a very loose fitting dress. But all she has to do is show that she's being pregnant. Someone will be impressed and then wish to produce and give birth to her baby. It's all about that reaching a higher level of understanding as well. And sometimes you don't really understand something until you've overcome the challenge and made it through and endured, which could be all about that Hangman as well. Just trying to figure out how you can make his problems work for him, make the best of a bad situation. Here's the Nine of Pentacles. She has 40 roses on her dress, showing that she is now ready and old enough, mature enough to have a baby, because the 40 weeks of a gestational period. I was looking for the 10 of the Wheel of Fortune card. Wheel of Fortune, there's always 4 of things, like 4 groups of like objects that are like inside the same groups. And then this Roman numeral 10. So 10 times 4 of those objects, or groups, sorry, is 40. So 40 objects, items all together. Here it is. And this card is all about Jupiter and about expansion, rising up, and elevating your gnosis, which is knowing. And so Jupiter is all about the guru, and he's all about expanding knowledge. And so these people are reading books, you know, like to rise up and learn. But all the symbols are all about rising up and expanding the mind. And there's 10 groups of 4. There's so many on there. It's hard to explain them all right now. But you can start to see like 4 of Faces of God, and the 4 books that they're reading. There's even inside the center in the middle, there's like 4 directions, like north, south, east, west, and the 4 alchemical symbols like sulfur and all that. Hold on, I got the cat meowing at the door. All right, thank you. And then so you just count them all and you get 40 altogether, because 4 times 10 is 40. And there's 10 groups of 4 in this card. But it's all about, you know, true, greater, deeper understanding through contemplation. If you were to study this card and truly contemplate on it, you'll find the 10 groups of 4. There's even the 4-letter name of God on there too, you know. It just keeps going. But I think you get it with the 40. I mean, I think there might be actually like 6 to 9 cards that have the 40 in it. Oh, even the Hermit. The Hermit is like Moses on Mount Sinai. And Moses went up to Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. So that's where that 40 comes into place right there. Let's go on to another number that you see a lot. Is the 32, which is just like there's 32 connection points of the Kabbalah tree of life. So it's about working all the way up the tree, working all the way up your chakra systems and getting fully elevated. We're about to become the add one with God, right? We're like about to come full circle. The moon card is a good card for that. The moon has kind of like this, it's a solar eclipse. So the moon eclipsing the sun, and the sun will have 32 rays around it. So it just shows how it's, you know, it's fully evolved, and like a cycle has come to that point where you kind of feel full circle and the cycle's ended, you know. And then when one cycle ends, a new one begins. The Hermit is the face in the moon, and he's kind of like that next spark of light. And the Hermit card is connected to the Hebrew letter Yod, which is like a fire flame. So that could be another spark of light. Just like in the moon card, there's 15 Yods flying in stars underneath the sun and the moon. So the Hermit's like another one of the Yods. So he would be considered the 33rd ray of light around the sun and the moon. But you see that 32 going up those degrees, or up your chakra systems in your Kabbalah tree of life. Kind of like your Jacob's ladder. And that's the next number is good. 45 is a good number. You'll see a lot. 45 always connects to God or Yahweh or Jehovah, which is all the same. Even Saturn, because Saturn has a magic square, and the magic square, when you add up all the numbers 1 through 9, because it's a 3x3 square, number 1 through 9. And if you add up 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 and so forth, all the way up to 1 through 9, you get 45. So that's why it's connected to Saturn. And Saturn is Yahweh. And when you spell out the letters of Yahweh, it equals 45. And so you'll see the 45 always connects to Yahweh, Jehovah. For instance, in the Lover's card, behind the angel Raziel is a huge sun, and the sun has 45 sun rays. And so Raziel's name means secrets of God. And they say that he stood so close to God that he could hear all his secrets, and then he shared those secrets to everybody every morning on Mount Horeb, which is the mountain of the sun. That's why there's a sun behind him. And he reveals the secrets right from God, which is connected right to his head inside the card. He's like so close to God, and he reveals all the secrets. Also in the Temperance card, there's the angel who is about to embark on the path of life that leads them from those astral waters through the valley, over the mountains, directly into the sun, right into the background of the Temperance card. That sun has exactly 45 sun rays. So that's Yahweh. So it's a path of righteousness that leads you to God. And then also that angel has the 4-letter name of God over its heart, and that's Jehovah. So when you spell out the letters of Jehovah, like the Yod, so Y-O-D, and then the Hey, H-E-H, you know, so you like add up all the letters that are associated and incorporated with that 4-letter name, then it equals 45. So he wears like the Yahweh over his heart, on his chest, and then he just becomes a temple. And because he's a temple, he houses the light of the Creator, and then he can follow that path back to God, following the righteous path. Another thing too about 45 is inside the Death card. And the Death card has that Tudor rose. And the Tudor rose, it has five what do you call it? 5 leaves. I couldn't remember the name. So there's 5 leaves. It has 10 flower petals, so 15. And then inside the middle of that flower is 30 seeds. So 30 plus 15 equals 45. And again, it's like Saturn energy in Yahweh. And so Saturn energy is a lot inside that card. That Death card is all about Jesus Christ dying on the cross when he's 33, and he returns to the Father. You'll even have the Death Knight approaching the Pope, and Pope, another name for Pope, is Father, or like, you know, Pope means Father. So it shows how Jesus died on Good Friday and is returning to the Father. And the other thing of 45. And just speaking of Jehovah or Yahweh, when you spell out the letters of Yahweh, that's when you get 45. But if you do the 4 letters, then you add those letters together, you get 26. And 26, that's another one of those recurring numbers where you'll see it in the 26 water droplets inside the Ace of Cups. And so it shows you how God is there putting his hand in this miracle that'll overwhelm and overpour love energy in your heart or in your cup. And then if you take that 26, also like being God and Yahweh, so that 45 Tudor rose can also, you know, kind of like allude to that the Tetragrammaton, which is the 4-letter name of God, Yahweh. And one more thing too about the Death card is Roman numeral 13. 13 plus 13 equals 26. And the Hebrew letter, or the Hebrew word for love, is ahava. It has a numerical value of 13. And then also the numerical value for the word one, which is ihad, also is 13. So God is one, God is love, one love. And so the whole card about the death card is where you'll have love conquer death in order to obtain that oneness of God, or that harmony again, or to feel God in your hearts again. It's always about like God, like his mercy and his love, and also how God is above the ruling of how the world is run, because the world is run and controlled by the number 12. 12, like 12 hours on the clock, so it's like 12 zodiac signs, and how this like time governs everything, astrology governs everything. And so like the 12 kind of controls the worldly things, but above 12 is 13, and that's where like God's realm is, that overlooks the 12, and also doesn't like, is above the 12, and it's not controlled by the 12. It's like outside this world. 13 also corresponds to the 13 attributes of God's mercy, which is in the book of Numbers. I forget exactly where, maybe chapter 26, if I can remember, but it's all about 13 attributes of God's mercy. And inside the verse, it shows you all 13 ways God is completely merciful, never judges you, loves you unconditionally. And in the devil card, you'll see that Eve has a tail of grapes, and it's exactly 13 grapes. So it just shows that she's been shown mercy and given love and blessings, and after eating the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. And what's cool is that the fruit in the Garden of Eden, according to Jewish folklore or the stories, that it is grapes. Just like in the Lover's card, there's 4 grapes inside that tree of knowledge of good and evil that Eve eats out of. And then 4 things that connect to the 4th sphere on the Kabbalah tree of life, which is Hesed, which means mercy and kindness. So she knows, like through her gut, that if she eats this fruit, she'll be shown mercy and kindness. And then the next card that she's shown in is the Devil card, and she has 13 grapes on her tail. So it shows the 13 attributes of God's mercy. So it just shows how she's been shown nothing but mercy by taking that risk, which was kind of like God's plan in the first place. That's pretty cool about the 13. So 13 is one, love. That's not bad at all. And then also 13, it could also be about, like if people use it in bad, like, I don't know, like gangsters or whatever, thinking they're tough with the number 13. It's all about not being controlled by the thing of the world. So it's kind of like no control, kind of like an anarchy in a way, because God is that level of 13. So some people might say, well, you can't judge me, only God can judge me. Or, this world is not going to control me. So that's why 13, because like God's realm. Another number is 15. 15 is like in that lunar, in the lunar month, there's 30 days, roughly, like 29.5 days. So in the midpoint is the 15th day, and that's always a full moon. And you'll see a lot of Jewish holidays happen on the 15th day of the month, because their months go by the moon and the lunar cycle. And so it's the 15th day, full moon time. And that full moon time is whenever you can really reflect upon your emotions and whatever your dark shadow nature. And then you can see what needs to be changed. And then also, like, it reveals what's in the darkness. So that could be in a positive way of like, you reveal what has been hidden, kind of like you reveal your magic desires and your hopes and wishes. They finally get realized. because you're supposed to plant the seeds of your desire and intention on the new moon. And then 15 days later is the full moon. And on that 15th day, it's usually like now you get to see your seeds grow, you know? So it's like a very magical time. And then 15 is also Saturn, one of the magic numbers of Saturn that's inside Saturn's square, which is a square that goes 1 through 9. Maybe I'll even like show you like a picture of Saturn's square, but it's a 3x3 square, and the numbers are all arranged through. So it always equals 15 from every single row, every single column, going up and down, backwards, forwards, and even diagonal. And they all equal 15. And there's 3 rows, so 15 times 3 is 45. And it's all numbers 1 through 9. So in magic squares and like it's all comes from the planet and planetary magic. And each planet has its own magic square. And it's always about numbers, like because there's 3x3, because Saturn is the 3rd sphere on the Kabbalah tree of life. So it has the number 3. So it's like 3x3. Just like Jupiter's square. Jupiter is the 4th sphere on the Kabbalah tree of life. So it's a 4x4 square. Something like that. You know, I think even like like every square is like that. Just depends on their number. And then so you'll see how it has numbers 1 through 9, but they're arranged in a way where every single column and row equals 15. And then 15 times 3 equals 45, the magic number of Saturn, which equals Yahweh. And then we do the math in the Gematria, it equals 45 as well. So those magic numbers would be like 3, 6, 9, 15, and 45. And this thing will even show you. Yeah, there's even like a magic square of the sun. So the sun is the 6th sphere on the Kabbalah tree of life. So its magic square is 6x6. And then the number that you get when you add up it all is 666. So it's another 6. Because each of the rows and columns, diagonal, whatever, it all equals 111. And 111 plus 6 is 666. And so a lot of people think 666 is bad, but really it has to do with the sun. And they even say connect Jesus to 666. It's because Jesus was the Son of God, you know? Yeah, 666 is, in the Bible, it says 666 is a number of a man, and the man is a beast, right? And so 666 is also like a carbon-based life form, which every single one of the atoms will have, like a carbon atom will have 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neurons, 666. And so man is a carbon-based life form. He's not an angel, he's not a spirit, you know, he's not a demon, he's a beast. Just like animals are carbon-based life forms. They're not synthetic, you know, not robots, you know, they're real. And so mark of the beast, mark of man. And even the number 6 is the number of man. And the Hebrew letter Vav has a numerical value of 6. And it always connects to man and how you connect man to God. And Vav means nail. And it was the nails that killed Christ on the cross, so he can connect back as one with God. And there was 3 nails that tied him to the, killed him to the cross. And so 6 is the value of Vav, so nail. And those 3 nails crucified Jesus. So 6, 6, 6. You see? Yeah, mark of the beast. It's like, it's just man. But it's also connected to the sun, because the sun is vital for carbon-based life forms to live. And we need the sun's nutrients, and it just makes us feel good, and it brings us life. And also, when you have 6 plus 6 plus 6, you get 18. And 18 is the numerical value for the word Hai or Ka or Chi, like it's your life, the life force within you. And just like when the Jewish people say L'chaim, they could say to life, you know? So it's 666. Going back to the Saturn. So you see how this is how you get the seal of Saturn inside the cube of Saturn. So start on the left side, you'll see you go 1 to the 2 to the 3, and then you go 1 continuous line from the 1 all the way to the 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. And then you'll see how on the farthest right, it forms the seal of Saturn. This is pretty rough looking seal of Saturn, but it's it's a V on top of another overlapping V. And so it forms a diamond in the middle. And then you have these two pieces that stick out, and you draw a line right through the middle. And that's the seal of Saturn. So it's like two X's with a line in the middle and a diamond in the middle, because those two X's together form a diamond. And then inside the seal of Saturn, you'll get a inverted pentagram. You see like this? And see how the inverted pentagram is boxy looking? This is the same inverted pentagram that's over the devil's third eye. And the third eye, it will connect you to God and be at one with God. And then God is Yahweh, right? Saturn. And then the devil card is connected to Yom Kippur, which is the day of atonement, which is at one men. So that day you are one with God. And so what the devil's doing is trying to tap into God and then draw down desires from the astral plane into the material world. And he figures out that in order to manifest inside the physical, you have to draw it down from the subconscious, unseen world. In Kabbalah, they teach this thing about two worlds. There's the 1% reality, and then also the 99% reality. And that 1% reality is how we perceive it with our five senses alone, like the earthly plane, material world of existence. But that 99% taps you into the astral world, into the unseen, into the subconscious, into God, that super conscious. And it's the subconscious mind controls the conscious mind. And it's kind of like whatever, like our reality around us is just a projection of our subconscious. You can kind of really judge like your mentality and all about like your just outer things, like what do you own, like what does your house look like, what does your car look like, what do you look like? And then you can really look at someone and see like what's going on inside their head, like if they're crazy or not, if their hair is all wired or just something, like they just look rough, you can just tell like they got something. They got struggling with something. But yeah, as you said, the pentagram is right there in the middle. And the pentagram we did in the last class with the court cards, where the court cards connect to levels of the pentagram. Hold on, my cat wants outside. All right, so the court cards connect with pentagram. And then I told you how it's like the 5 elements of Yahweh, but there's also the Shin right here. So Shin would be spelled the word Yahshua. So it shows how the pentagram is inside Saturn's square, and the pentagram is Yahshua, which is Jesus, the Savior who brings upon salvation. And then the only way to the salvation is connected with Saturn, and they are one. The Son is one with the Father. And then that's how you truly draw down miracles into your life. I think I'm going off subject too, just with Gematria, but these are numbers and they're very important. So I guess it goes along. One more thing too about Saturn's square is that you'll see it inside the 10 of Pentacles card. There is like a cape that the old man wears inside the Ten of Pentacles next to the dogs, next to his hand. And there is like a part of this cape underneath his hand that looks like a 3x3 red square. And this is the seal of Saturn, the magic square of Saturn, sorry. Where I can find that card, I'll show you. I don't even know where this card is. Oh, here it is. It just had to be the last. All right, so here's the Ten of Pentacles. If you got it too, you can pull it out. But so right here, there's two dogs. And if you look right here, some people see it, some people don't, but it could be a third dog hiding underneath the cape or like garment of the old man. And some people see like the nose sticking out up from the garment and it's hitting the ninth pentacle. And then down below is the dog's tail up, like wagging. So on this dog's head would be the red 3x3 magic square of Saturn. And it kind of shows how this old man connected to that Saturn energy to draw down his desires and bring upon a fulfilling life. And he now revels in his own wealth. It's like some people see it, some people don't, but it's like a hidden dog that it's like a Rorschach test, you know. Once you think in your head like you could see it, you always see it, and you can never unsee it. Some people never see it, but that's okay, and it doesn't matter. But that's magic square of Saturn is definitely there. Like everyone can see it. They just don't know it's the magic square of Saturn. But because this magic square of Saturn is definitely inside the cards, and that Ten of Pentacles card's kind of like a reference guide, like a map key almost to the tarot. And if you understand that card, you can understand every card. And that card also has a hidden seal of Saturn within it. And you can see it because it has that magic square of Saturn within it also. Even the Devil card has a secret hidden seal of Saturn within it, because you do see the pentagram over the devil's eye. Kind of lets you know that Saturn is right there. You know, they're always as one. But yeah, that is the number 45 for you. It's always cool. I'm trying to think of what's another place to see 45. You can see the number 26 and 45, I guess, if you're really looking. But with this card, and also the Wheel of Fortune card, it has the four faces of God. The four faces of God connect to the four fixed signs of the zodiac. And then those houses that they're in, when you add up the sum of the numbers, it'll equal 26. Just like 26 is the value of the four-letter name of God, Yahweh. And if you were to spell out the letters in Yahweh, you get the value of 45. But a lot of times I do see just like the 26, definitely, because it adds up with the fixed signs of the zodiac. Also in the Wheel of Fortune card as well, 26. But 26 is the water droplets on the Ace of Cups. I guess that's it with 26. But you do see how that number comes up a lot, and always is God, Yahweh. Another number that you'll see is 37. 37, I think we talked about this with the like the aces in the last card, with symbols with God's hand coming out of the aces of the clouds. Well, those hands have light rays around them, and there's two aces that have 37 light rays. 37 is the value of the second sphere called Hokmah, which means wisdom. So it shows how God's hands coming out of the clouds to give you godly insights and wisdom, and saying, pushing you to do something, take an action, because it's very wise to start like a new venture or to pursue this idea. Like Ace of Wands, for instance, this is all about the spark epiphany, light bulb going off, new passions, you know, lust for life. And it has 37 rays around God's hand, showing like this is wise idea. It's brilliance. Also, the Ace of Pentacles also has 37 rays around the God's hand, saying this is a wise idea to get the ball rolling and just to get some sort of like maybe career or relationship started. And go put this coin to the slot, that window of opportunity. Get it started now. But yeah, you see that 37 in there like that. It's pretty cool. Even the hangman has those light rays around his head. And if you were to count them real carefully, you'll find that there's 37. Even counting like his fiery tips on his head, it's still like a light source, right? So it's like 37. It shows that whatever he's thinking about inside his head is very wise. And then that's why he's kind of like content with the situation, because he's going to figure out a way to get out of it, or figure out how his bad situation is actually a blessing in disguise. And like, how does this work out for him? Like, as a blessing. Another number is 20. 20 is the numerical value of the Hebrew letter Kaf, which means palm of hand or grip. So you'll even see it in these aces with the God's hands with 20 light rays. Just like this one, this is the peace of mind card with the ace. And so God is blessing you with peace of mind, because palm of hand 20 Kaf, it's like refers to blessings and someone giving you help. You know, like a priest would put his hands upon your head for a blessing, or you open your hands like this to receive a blessing. So hands are always about like that blessing aspect. So he's blessing you with peace of mind. And another, the ace of cups, you count the sun, the light rays. There's also 20 light rays. So it's like God wants you to receive these blessings and these miracle blessings that will overwhelm your heart. You know, overpour with miracle energy and blessings and healing, and it just, you know, overpour your emotions. Another one is the 7 of Wands card, where it has the 20. So then the 7 of Wands, you have that guy standing on the mountain, and he has a big wand beside his hand, and he's holding his grip really tight. And the wands can represent your beliefs or your opinion. And this could be like, okay, you just need to like open your palm of hands, release your grip, and just drop your opinion. You know, release your opinion, walk away, just let it go. That's good too. The tarot card that's connected and assigned to the letter Kaf is the Wheel of Fortune. So you can see how someone reaches out their hand and wants to lift you up. And then they do this, it's always like a blessing. It's now fortune's coming. That's when you see that number 20. Another number that is cool to mention is the number 72. I can't remember if I already mentioned it, but 72 is all about miracles, just like the 72 names in the Kabbalah, where it tap you into God's miracle energy. So 72 is all about miracle making, and you'll see it on the Empress card, wherever it is. Yeah, here she is. So the Empress has that crown, and the crown has 12 of the stars of Saturn. And Saturn is God, and then that's the one that gives you miracles. And so there's 12 of 6 pointed stars. 6 times 12 is 72. And so it shows how she is about to give birth, which is like a real miracle, and give the miracle of birth. So she's tapping into miracle energy. So it's kind of like whatever she's about to give birth to, her baby, could be her project, her new job, you know, maybe like a new business, maybe a book she's going to write, or music that she's going to do. Like, this is her baby, and she's about to give birth to it. And then it's going to be like a miracle that someone will pick it up and produce it. But usually when you get this card, it's like the prosperity card. And it always shows that someone's going to open a door of opportunity and produce your ideas. And it's going to feel like a miracle. And so that's what it's all about. Like the 12 stars, they go along with the 12 months of the year, just like she's been taking that long time to cultivate her crop, like her wheat crop at her feet. And then, so now it's time to reap what she's sowed, reap the crop. Also in a pentagram, there's 10 72-degree angles. And that 72 is about drawing down miracles from the astral realm down into the manifest. And even 10 is like the number of completion, like the 10 spheres of the Kabbalah tree of life. It's like manifested when that seed becomes to fruition. And so you'll see those 10 72 angles in a pentagram. It's all about drawing down desire. And that's what she does with the power of the 72. Just like the 72 angels. And even the Sistine Chapel has the 72 cherubs on the ceiling. Yeah, 72 is big. Another number, 24, you'll see is like in the 8 of Wands card. If you count the wands, there's 24. I mean, you count the branches on the wands. There's 24 branches, which means 24 hours in a day. So they're shooting out their wands, shooting out their ideas, shooting out their opinions, shooting out creative ideas, seeing and testing them, and just seeing which one sticks or which one hits the target, So it's like you just keep trying, keep going, trying everything, and then you just see what sticks. And then you focus on what sticks and what hits the target, what works. And then it's a learning process, creative process, where you just got to take it one day at a time. And that kind of leads into the next thing about all the wands cards having like some sort of Gematria connection, or like something where the number is significant, or they all tell like advice. Just like the 7 of Wands, where it has 20 of the branches, where it says, now it's time to let go. Or the 24 branches on the 8 of Wands, just take it day by day, one day at a time. Pretty cool. Even the, the 4 of Wands, there's 6 branches on these. And 6 connects to the 6th sphere, which is beauty, and when things are at their peak level and at their best. So it shows how these people are just at their best moment. They're getting married, and it's the best day of their lives. And they're receiving blessings, and they're receiving like inheritance or promise for inheritance, promise for new like better jobs and responsibilities, maybe even more land. Opportunity to grow as a family. It's like, it's just the best. There's the best time of their life. They're probably at the most ripe and the youngest and beauty and most best looking. It's on this day. All the wands cards do that. Even the court cards that are wands. But the wands always show advice. For instance, the 6 of Wands, there's 12 wands on the, 12 branches on the wands. And 12 is about 12 months of the year that it took for them, the man on the horse, to win the race. But you see, the advice is that you need to give credit where the credit is due, because the man won the race, but he's showing all the awards as if they're his own. And his horse has to finally say like, hey, give me my award. And so the advice is just give credit where the credit's due, recognize and acknowledge those who helped you achieve your successes. Don't allow success to go to your head, And there's another card, the 9 of Wands. 9 of Wands shows a guy who is dealing with a really like a identity crisis, like a real tough time in his life. If you count the branches on the wands, you get 27. 27 in astrology, it goes along with the lunar return. And that lunar return sets you up for your Saturn return. And that lunar return is a time of self-identity, and you start to question your beliefs. You start to maybe figure out like what you value now has changed, and you're starting to grow into a new adult. And you might even change direction in life. You might get out of a relationship, you might get divorced, you might start a new job, you may jump careers, start a new major in school, something like that. Or you might even jump and change political views, everything. And it's just a real identity crisis, kind of like a midlife crisis kind of feeling. But those 27 branches connect you to those 27 years it takes for your lunar return. And it sets you up for your Saturn return, which happens every 30 years. And then after around maybe like 29 to 30, that's when Saturn's really wreaking havoc in your life. And then after 30, that's when Saturn starts to retrograde and leave your life and your influence. And then once it's 32, it's completely gone. And then at 33, you feel like you're reborn. And you'll see how those numbers also coincide with Jesus's life. Jesus was 30 years old when he started like preaching and teaching his church or his gospel. And then at 33, he died on the cross and returned to heaven and was one with the Father. And then also Jesus was 12 years old when he left his home and went to the temple, and he was teaching the priests inside the temple all about spirituality and the secrets inside the Torah. And then after 12, he went missing for 18 years. So he was gone. And so there was like that sense of restriction, kind of like that Saturn energy of slowing down cause and effect, and resistance from the light of God, the light of Jesus. So when Jesus finally returned at 30, 18 years later, he started preaching his gospel. And then 18, we talked about earlier, where it's 6 + 6 + 6, and it connects to, even though 666 is like the sun, right? Like son of God, but also it's 6 + 6 + 6 is 18, and that connects to life, like L'chaim. So during that time when Jesus was missing, he was just learning about life. And then when he finally became mature with life lessons, he came back. And then he taught people by example and saying, this is how you connect to God. Because I've done it myself. He learned a lot of life. So now he can preach and tell people how to change themselves.